So, hello, and thank you for joining me today. Today, we are going to continue our conversation about marketing for real estate professionals. And I want to talk about the book. So, I've been telling you all along that I'm going to be doing this video on talking about my book. And so now is the time to actually make that happen. So the book that I wrote is called Passion and Mindset for Real Estate. And it is really about promoting the brand, the Pamela Simons brand. And so I'm super happy that I get to share my experience with you. It wasn't an easy journey. However, I do believe that your marketing of yourself and your expertise is super important. So I certainly would like to make sure that to your best ability, you are marketing yourself. So this is one technique that I've chosen, and a lot of other professional speakers and presenters and experts have chosen the same method for promoting themselves. So it's really nice that we have this opportunity for us to talk about it and for me to share my personal experience. You can see I always write about my experience, so I have to do it in order for me to share what I've done. So, first of all, welcome. This presentation is about my experience, as I mentioned, and I it goes along with the fact that I always like to repurpose some of my production, my social media posts. So there's actually a whole LinkedIn article that if you go and track me down on LinkedIn, which I've put the link in this slide here, that you will be able to go and read about what I'm going to talk to you about today. However, I sometimes think that listening is a lot easier than reading, so it's just nice that we have both. As well, it's one of my industry secrets that wherever possible, you want to repurpose your material so that you get double bang or triple bang or quadruple bang for your investment in the material that you prepare. I would also love for you to follow me on my YouTube channel. I am working to build that up, so certainly your joining me there would certainly be helpful. I know that link is probably a little bit difficult to read. I have a shortcut for you that I will prepare, so I will send that to you. It will be part of this video shortly. So getting started, there's a few things that you need, and I would have to admit that I'm probably the one that I love to plan. I plan everything. I'm known as a planner. So for me to plan out what I'm doing with this book was pretty important. So there really is many, many things that you need to plan, but really, where you have to start is with the content and the purpose. Why are you doing this? If your why isn't strong enough, it will become more difficult for you to continue on. And for example, Passion and Mindset for Real Estate, it wasn't a quick book, even though it's a short read. It would be what I would call a short book. It still took me years to get from the starting point to the finish publication. Years. Literally years. So it starts with really thinking about the concept and the purpose. Why are you doing this? Then I always like to do an outline. It's almost like I write the chapter headings and then fill in the details underneath that. As you're writing the chapter headings, you may realize that you need to do a bit of research on some of the content points. So you're going to have to detour, do that bit of research, and come back. I then like to plan the content, and you want to consider the size of the book. I chose to do a 5x5 and 8x5 book, 5.5, 8.5, or 9 size, which tends to be a really good size, common size for kind of self-help business books. It doesn't have to be long. Again, most people want a quick read. So even 100 pages is considered, your target. That's what you're looking for. And it doesn't all have to be words. Having a few pictures is also very nice. I would recommend then, once you've determined some of the content, the size, and you're going to start your chapters, you're going to start filling in the content under the chapters, that you're going to probably be reworking the book and reorganizing some of the content. Now, I chose to hire an editor once I got done. So basically, by the time you get to the point where you don't even want to look at this anymore, it's time to hire an editor. So I hired an editor who went through the book to look for sentence structure, typos, pretty much everything. They didn't catch everything. I would have to say that, the bottom line is it's your book, it's your marketing. You probably want to take a little break and then have another look at it, or hire a second editor, or pay for services with multiple edits from the editor. I'll tell you what I did on the next slide, so you'll be able to learn a little bit more about who I chose and where I got the services and how much they cost. All right, you're also going to need to hire a book designer for the cover or the interior. Now, I played around a little bit with Canva in order to get some general design ideas, and I sent that off to the editor for them to understand my style. He came back with the most beautiful book design, and I love it. I'm super happy. So the book design and the interior design, so cover and interior, were both the style items from my book designer. Super happy. That cost me not too much, thank heavens. And again, I'll tell you my shortcuts for that. Then you want to take a fresh look at the book once it's been designed, perhaps reread it. Again, you're getting closer to the printing options, so you want to make sure that any final edits are completed. And I did have to go through a couple of edits. In fact, it was at this stage that I made a big mistake where I needed to make some drastic changes in terms of the formatting. So the printer that I'd chosen needed me to rework the size. So I had to go back to the book designer and ask them to reformat it, which thank heavens they did that for me. But those mistakes will cost you money. So again, hopefully this will save you money because you're going to follow the approach and do all the pre-work before you get to the point where you're ready to send it off to the printer. All right, so next you want to select your printing options. Now there's many ways to print a book, and this really affects the next item on my bullet points, which is your ISBN numbers. So you need an ISBN number for every format that the book is being produced in. So if it's being physically printed, you need an ISBN for the book. If it's going to be an ebook, you need an ISBN number for the ebook. If it's going to be an audio book, you need a physical ISBN number. So you need an ISBN number for that format. So basically every format that you have, you are going to need an ISBN number. That was again an error. I didn't know that, and I found that out towards the finish line. I haven't got ISBN numbers for the other formats. So I'll wait until I'm ready to do the other formats, and then I'll order ISBN numbers for those. However, just so that you know, you may want to go get your ISBN number. In Canada, it's free, which is great. If you're in some other part of the world, I don't know what the process would be, but in Canada, we have a government site, and I'll share that with you in an upcoming slide. All right, so next it's the print production, and you want to select the quality, the design, the style, if it's going to be hard copy or soft paperback. Also the finishes on it. There's several different finishes. Your printer will let you know. Also, if there's color pages, black and white, those things all cost additional money during the print run. So you may want to review some of those and decide what pages need to be in color so that you can inform your printer of those and they can give you an accurate quote. You may also at this point be choosing some of your distribution options, and there are many. Again, I chose to just print it because I'm using it for marketing and for as a gift for my clients. So for me, I ordered hard copies, and so yes, I've got a big box in my home office of books and a bunch of unpacked books ready to be put into envelopes and mailed off to clients or delivered to clients. So I'm working on that right now. I'm going to have my assistant help me with that. But you can also choose things like distribution through Amazon. Again, those are options, and there are also options where you can get additional help versus doing it yourself. It might be easier. However, then you also have to decide, what your budget is. So doing the format that I did and what's covered in this video is probably going to be the cheapest, most cost-effective way of doing it, provided you avoid the mistake that I made of having to have your file reformatted and having the printer charge you extra for that error on my part. So the last piece of getting started is just kind of plan when your release would be. Now, you can't really plan it until you get close to the finish line. So I am currently what I consider soft release right now. I haven't done an actual book launch for the book. I will at some point in time. However, I haven't done that yet, and I will probably be launching with either a bank or a mortgage company or some other organization that focuses in on wealth, since real estate is part of a wealth proposition. So those are the bullet points that you need in order to get started. All right. So the concept of my book. So what I did was I actually had written a bunch of articles called Speaking from Experience, and they were published in an Etobicoke local paper. So I, again, repurposed some of the content in order to leverage that content and speed up the writing process. It helped me for a bit, but it didn't help me with everything because there's still a lot to do. The next thing you probably want to do when you're thinking about your concept and the purpose is to think, who is your audience? And so in my case, I had kind of almost a dual audience, both people who, like me, were investors before and then perhaps thought about becoming a realtor. And not that I wanted to encourage or discourage, but the reality is it's a very difficult choice, and one that maybe gives you an opportunity to rethink this based on my experience. The other thing you want to do is have your elevator pitch, because the first thing people are going to ask you about your book is, what's it about? So you want to have the elevator pitch that lets people know what it is about so that you can, quickly in a minute or less be able to describe on a high level what your book is about and who would benefit from your book. You also at this point are probably planning on, what's the purpose from a business vantage point as well. So the ISBN numbers, again, in the background, you can kind of see there's the front cover, the spine and the back cover of the book. The end book did not quite look exactly the same because it was so thin that the spine couldn't be printed. But for ISBN numbers in Canada, you can Google the ISBN service, and you can actually put down, so you can actually see here, I've got a second book in the works. I've got my ISBN number ordered for that. And what they do is they kind of give you a series of numbers, and that will always be allocated to Pamela Simons. And then the other numbers will be the different formats or the different book titles. And also, if it's launched or not launched, you can enter in that. So you can see my ISBN number is in the green whiteboard up there, but you will need an ISBN number, and you can typically get that printed in a barcode so that you could have the book scanned and printed if you are bringing it into a bookstore to be sold, which I'm actually thinking about, to be honest. All right. So you need to hire some help. And again, I chose to go with a cost-effective method of doing my work. And I used two talent members from Fiverr. So if you haven't used Fiverr before, I would recommend that you consider them for small jobs that you may have. So for my book editing, I chose Editor Jane, and she cost me about $55 plus a tip. They ask you for a tip at the end. And so if they do a good job, not only do you leave them a great review, but you also want to give them a tip, which helps their income. And Editor Jane was about $55 to review the book. Again, remember, mine was a short book, so there wasn't as much content to review. I think she did a great job and answered some questions that I had after her editing process. So I would say that that was super cheap, and I might consider spending a little bit more there. Next, for book design, I chose this gentleman here who did my book design, and he was brilliant. So I highly, highly recommend him. He worked quickly, efficiently. When there was a mistake found, like a formatting error or even a small typographical error, I was able to ask him to fix it. Honestly, he was worth every penny and more. And for him, including the multiple edits and the fact that I had to ask him to reformat the book, it was about $200. And these are Canadian prices, by the way. So you can see that it's pretty cost effective. The next thing I probably might get somebody to do is help me with designing something to sell the books. So I haven't actually gone to that, but these are the two helpers that you're going to need. So depending on your budget, these are actually pretty inexpensive options. So again, for marketing and branding yourself, perhaps this is the format. My book is not going to be like War and Peace. It's a marketing tool to express my views on real estate and the expertise that I have in real estate. So these costs are probably in line with what I would recommend. All right. Now, for printing, I interviewed a lot of companies. I had a couple of failures that didn't work. I ordered books, they didn't come. So I went back to the drawing board on that and chose a GTA, a Toronto area printer called Sure Print and Design. They're in Richmond Hill. So I've got their contact details on the slide. So I would recommend them to get a quote from them. And they did a brilliant job. They even offered to do a sample book, which I did order. That sample book was a bit expensive, but I think it's worthwhile to see a hard copy of your book in your hands. And that way it's easy sometimes to flip through, notice any final edits that you need made, and get all of that stuff taken care of before you actually spend your money on printing. So this is what printing actually cost me. Actually, I'm going to come back to what printing actually cost me, but the next thing you want to do is consider your promotion of the book. And you can start, pre-promotion is amazing. Because again, remember, if your purpose is about your brand and building brand recognition, get it out there early. Get it out there super early. Let people know that this book is coming. Promote it on all your social channels. Don't forget to definitely leverage social media and repurpose social media so that you're taking advantage of everything that you are doing. All right. So if you decide that doing it yourself is maybe not for you, there are a number of companies that you could hire. They do cost a significant amount more, and you won't get the hard copies or the physical copies of the book the same way you do if you bought books directly. However, maybe this is the way you want. I think one of the benefits of using some of these organizations or exploring others would be that they will do the marketing and promotion for you of your book. They'll do the product placement. So it will get on places like Amazon or Barnes and Noble or Indigo, wherever you need it to be, it will be there. That's a little bit more difficult for an independent to do that. So it's something that you may want to consider. It's worth it for that. They can range in price though from $2,000 to $30,000. So again, depends on your budget. But if being a published author is part of what you need for success in your business, maybe that $30,000 from, say, Black Card Books is worth it. I would suggest that the places that I'm going to go to next for some other books that I'm working on is I'm probably going to use Friesen Press or consider Tellwell. So those are the two that, in doing my research, I thought provide a really good package. And so Friesen Press is probably going to be my next place. And I think they're out in BC, so they're Canadian as well. Who doesn't like to support Canadians? All right, so this is what I paid. The time, you can't get back the time, and time, it's like time or money. Those are the two resources. And time, it took me about 3 years to complete this particular book. I stopped for a while and then picked it back up and stopped again and picked it back up. And finally, something triggered in me in the fall of 2021 where I said, okay, this is crazy. I've got to get this done. So here's the costs of doing that. I ordered 300 books and a sample and shipping. And so printing was about $2,000 for that. So my cost per book is approximately $7.50, plus or minus, might be a little bit. I would say that I would retail it for $10, and with shipping, because it's a little bit expensive to ship, $15 for a book with shipping. However, the bulk purpose of this project was to provide it as a gift to clients and to use it and leverage my knowledge as a real estate professional. So it is basically a $7.50 gift that I plan to give to my clients. However, I am planning to sell some. However, I don't intend to sell in order to recover the entire cost. I plan to sell it so that I can sell it. and promote it. All right. So I know that some of you now, after watching this video to this stage, are maybe considering, well, I want to do this too, but you're not sure what to do, where to start, what to do for yourself. So I would be delighted to act as your coach or your mentor, or your helper, your consultant. So all of my websites are there. So PamelaSimons.ca, Workplay Toronto, and I also do voiceover work. So that's the Good Talk Life. Feel free to reach out to me on any one or all of my channels, and let's see if we can work together. I'd be delighted to help you out. Again, an initial call, always free. Don't hesitate. For me, it's all about your success, and when we support one another, we both get success. So that's the ideal situation. Ultimately, dream big, work hard, and just make it happen. So I'd like to thank you for tuning in today. I hope you learned a thing or two about the book publication, the book authoring process, and how writing a book could be your ticket to brand enlightenment and brand success. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.